Thank you everyone for joining us for the next presentation for our High Knob Naturalist Rally. We're so excited to have Austin Counts here to speak on solar energy for Southwest Virginia. I do want to make sure everyone knows participants and attendees are in listen-only mode. The presenter has no conflicts of interest or disclosures to make regarding the content of this presentation. And just so everyone knows, the session is being recorded. By remaining at this webinar, you're giving your consent to be recorded. And if you do not consent to being recorded, you may disconnect at any time. Thank you so much. And I would like to pass it on to Austin to begin his presentation.
So welcome everybody. As Jayla already mentioned, my name is Austin Counts, and I'm here to talk with you a little bit about solar for Southwest Virginia. And I work in Norton, Virginia with Appalachian Voices. I'm the New Economy Field Coordinator. And over the years, I've worked on a variety of issues from helping clean up abandoned mine lands to solar energy. And so today I'm wanting to talk to you a little bit about the work happening in the region, but also some of the work with the Solar Work Group of Southwest Virginia. And so the Solar Work Group of Southwest Virginia is a group of nonprofits, community action agencies, colleges, state agencies, planning districts, and just a ton of other interested citizens and businesses that want to help bring in a renewable energy industry to the coalfield counties of Southwest Virginia, ranging from Lee County to Tazewell County. And so here you can see a few of the things that we've done throughout the years, from tabling just at local community events like the High Knob Naturalist Rally. We hosted a variety of events like the solar tours throughout Southwest Virginia, and even helped several counties in the region get Sol Smart designation to show that the region is accepting and interested in inviting solar energy into the region. So I have a little bit more on just some of the work of the Solar Work Group, but I also wanted to help you all understand a little bit more just about solar energy in general. And so here's everything that we're going to be covering throughout the presentation today. First, I want to start a little bit with how solar energy works, even down to like the science, but then also just the process of how we get solar energy to the utilities and then back to our homes. I also want to talk about the different types or scales of solar energy, what some of the benefits of solar energy are, some of the most recent news across the region, because we've had quite a busy year in Southwest Virginia around solar. And then also I want to end the presentation on what some more things that you can do to help support the increasing development of solar energy in the region. And so like I mentioned, I wanted to talk a little bit about how solar panels work. And it's a somewhat simple science, actually. And so whenever I'm talking about solar energy, I'm generally talking about solar panels or photovoltaic panels. And so in short, this just means that light and energy from the sun is used to produce electricity. And one of the things that you may remember from high school or college is that everything is made up of atoms. And atoms are essentially made up of three basic particles: the neutron, the proton, and most importantly for our conversation today, the electron. And it's the flow of these electrons that generate electricity and power pretty much everything in your home. And so in order to power anything, we have to figure out how to make electrons flow from one location to another. And so at the bottom of the screen here, you can see your basic solar panel, a little bit colored and just for demonstration. But ultimately, this is the black box or the black square that you see everywhere that's generating electricity. Now, solar panels have no moving parts. So everything that's done to produce this electricity is done essentially through a chemical reaction. And through this short diagram, you can kind of see how that works. So the panel is separated into two sections. The front of the panel, or the front of the actual panel is called the front electrode. And this is a location where there is an abundance of electrons. All these atoms are swirling around with extra electrons they're willing to give away, but they don't have the energy to remove that electron from the atom just yet. And on the back of the panel, there's the back electrode, which wants more electrons. It doesn't have enough electrons to fill everything it needs in its atom. So it's trying to pull electrons from the front to the back. However, to get that little bit of extra energy, to get those electrons flowing, sunlight hits the panel, energizes these electrons and these atoms, and then suddenly an electron goes flying off towards the back electrode. Once that electron is free, we can collect them through wires in the panels, just like everything else, and then run them into your home, into an inverter to start energizing any of your electrical needs. And this is true no matter what size of panel that you're looking at. It can be a small toy panel that can fit into the palm of your hand, or it can be a 6x6 panel that goes on your roof or out in a solar field. So that's the basic and kind of chemical reaction of how solar panels work. But what's the actual process for getting solar to your home or to your building or to a community? Well, photovoltaic panels are the first step. And so you can see these on roofs, on the ground, on ground mounts. And really, they all work the same way in this chemical process that I already mentioned. So these panels utilize energy from the sun to produce direct current electricity. And that's generally how all electricity is generally created. And because direct current electricity can be a little bit dangerous, this electricity is ran immediately into inverters to turn the direct current, or DC, to AC, or alternating current. And this is the electricity that generally gets put into the grid and that you use on a lot of your electrical equipment. After the inverters, this goes to a service panel where you can turn off the panels if you need for any reason or another. And if you're a residential, if you're a home or if you're a building, it then goes to a bidirectional meter that essentially counts how much electricity you're generating throughout the day and how much electricity you're using throughout the day. And then ultimately, most of this electricity, if not used immediately, is stored onto the utility grid or into batteries, whichever you decide works best for you. And so that's really the basic rundown of how solar energy works. Because there's no moving components, it's a relatively simple process and requires very little maintenance and really has a small area in which things can go wrong. Generally, solar panels are completely safe. They don't really overheat. You don't have to wash them, and they're rated to stand up to most weather. And so that's really important whenever we're thinking about all the different scales of solar energy. One of which is very popular and getting more and more popular in the area is residential solar. And this is a small collection of solar panels called a solar array that can power a single home. And so that's really important to know that with residential solar, it's only your home. You're putting just enough panels on your property, whether it be on the lawn or on your rooftop, to generate your own electricity for your own usage. This still goes into the utility grid, but you are the only one being reimbursed and compensated for the solar energy. And so generally residential solar can go up to 25 kilowatts of energy or less. And just for scale, here in Southwest Virginia, the average household probably uses about 10 kilowatts, or would probably utilize a 10 kilowatt solar energy array. So whenever I say the different types of solar energy here, or different types of photovoltaics, I'm generally talking about scale, because no matter what, the panels are the same. They may be larger or smaller, but they work the same. And the process is really similar, but it's really how many solar panels you're using. And so this next type of solar energy is commercial scale. And this can be 3 megawatts or less in Virginia, in Appalachian Power and Old Dominion Power territory. And here's a perfect example of commercial scale solar. And it's actually just here in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, at Ironworks Cycling. So this is a very new installation. And it, like residential, only produces enough electricity for that building. And so still at commercial level, you're trying to produce enough electricity for one building to have your savings to try to reach as close to 100% of the electricity that you use throughout the year. Commercial systems are a little bit larger. Like I said, they reach up to 3 megawatts. They can reach up to 3 megawatts. This system generates nowhere near that, or is nowhere near that size. But commercial scale is very similar between small businesses like this one, all the way up to schools. And so schools themselves can install solar panels on their roof or on nearby property up to 3 megawatts worth to power their daily use. So all up until now, we've been talking about arrays for a single building. And shared solar is kind of one of the first steps in getting past that. Instead of using a solar array to power a single building, shared solar allows you to use a community-wide solar array to power multiple homes, multiple businesses, schools, and even some of the municipal buildings in your area. These systems can be the same size or larger than commercial scale, ranging across the nation, generally between 0.5 megawatts up to 10 megawatts. And for scale, a megawatt in Southwest Virginia could power about 200 homes, maybe a little bit more. And so you can see very quickly how you can then get hundreds of homes onto solar energy if we just had access to these kind of shared solar arrays. However, Southwest Virginia does not currently have access to these kind of programs, and the Solar Work Group is working hard to make sure we change that next year, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. But really what you really need to know is that shared solar is a way for multiple people to go solar. And then finally, the largest scale or largest type of solar energy is utility scale. And this can be 50 megawatts and up, reaching hundreds or thousands of megawatts. Now, clearly the picture you see here isn't in Southwest Virginia. It's way too flat, but similar things can happen in the region. And through these utility scale programs, you can put thousands upon thousands of solar panels in a community, bringing jobs to the area, generating green energy in the region, while also reutilizing land in Southwest Virginia that's already been polluted or already been affected by things like coal mining, timbering, or some of the other industries that happen in the region. But it's all well and good. Solar energy is available out there, but what are the actual benefits of solar energy production? Well, the first for many people is that, quite simply, it's cheaper energy. By installing solar panels on your building, you can pretty much assure that in the medium to long term, you're going to be saving a lot of money on your electricity bills. In fact, houses in the area that install up to 100% of their own solar energy on their roofs or on their property can have monthly energy bills of up to $9 a month. And so over the long run, you're looking at how long it's going to take to pay off a small system versus the 30 to 40 years that a solar array can actually exist, or that they can remain effective. And so solar panels last for 40 years, can last for up to 40 years. So no matter how long it takes you to get that system set up, in the end, you're going to be receiving completely free electricity. And so it's these energy savings that make solar energy really worth it to a lot of residents, schools, local governments, and really people across the nation. Another one of the big benefits is that solar energy is a huge job creator. And in the National Solar Job Census of 2020, released earlier this year, you can see that in just 10 years, employment in the solar industry more than doubled, moving from 100,000 in 2010 to over 220,000 in 2020. And you can see a little bit of fluctuation between 2016 and 2020, and that's just as people got a little bit more use and more effective at installing solar panels. There's been a little bit of fluctuation, of course, last year with COVID, less solar jobs were available. However, with Virginia's Clean Economy Act taking effect, and with the nation quickly moving and trying to figure out ways to quickly transition to renewable energy, this number, this employment is expected to at least double again, up to 200,000 or up to 400,000 jobs in the next 10 to 20 years. And if we speed that process up, if we say now that we want to be near 100% by 2035 instead of by 2050, that number can quadruple, reaching almost 1 million solar jobs across the nation. That's a lot of well-paying jobs in a community, especially here in the coal fields of Southwest Virginia, if we can make sure that these industries come to our region. Those jobs can be installation, manufacturing, which the region is already working on, sales and distribution, and operations maintenance, and just a lot of the other things that kind of go into the solar industry. But of course, I would imagine a lot of you here at the Naturalist Rally are here to hear about some of the environmentally beneficial benefits of solar energy. And so solar energy across the nation has been shown to decrease air pollution in communities as well as water pollution. But here are a few of the other things that you may not think about as much or that you may not know how to quantify. So over the lifespan of a single panel, and as I mentioned earlier, most of this change is not necessarily as much on panel size, but on how many is installed. So a home could have 30 or more panels, and then a utility scale system could have thousands upon thousands. And so for every solar panel installed, you are saving approximately 10,500 pounds of greenhouse gases, roughly 49,000 cubic feet, and almost 70,000 gallons of fresh water. Not a lot of people think about it, but a lot of these power plants utilize water to generate steam, to wash off equipment, and to cool down the equipment that's being used during combustion. And so since solar energy has no moving parts, has nothing that you have to cool down, and you don't have to produce steam, you're saving a lot of this water for our communities, for our streams, rivers, and lakes. And then finally, and probably one of my favorite environmental benefits of solar energy is just that there's so many flexible siting options. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, and something that we've already talked about a little bit, solar energy can utilize land or spaces that otherwise wouldn't be used for anything, like a rooftop. What else would you use it for other than to put your own solar array? And if every roof in Southwest Virginia had their own solar array, how much money could we be saving and how much green energy could we produce in the region? Additionally, solar panels don't only fit roofs, they're also a pretty good option for parking spaces. Think about a large Walmart parking lot and what that would look like instead of just having open space and cars being lined with solar panels that both provide a shade to the cars to cut down on sun damage and to cut down on sun damage on the pavement, but also are generating their own electricity for either the community or for Walmart or other large local businesses, large or small local businesses. This also means that solar panels can utilize previously mined or previously polluted lands. And so on the bottom left, you can see a strip mine land or a mountaintop removal site somewhere in Southwest Virginia. A lot of this land has already been polluted, it's already been stripped of its topsoil, and really doesn't have much of a chance of going back to its natural state. And so a lot of people in the region really think that this is one of the prime opportunities for Southwest Virginia to get more into solar energy. By placing solar panels on these abandoned mine lands or formerly mined lands, you're utilizing some of the infrastructure that was unfortunately created from past energy sectors to create a new, greener energy economy in Southwest Virginia. And then Two final examples for the flexibility of solar siting. You can see on the top two photos here. On the left, you can see solar panels in a field lined with flowers. And so solar panels are often, because they take up a lot of space and because they provide a good mix of sun and shade, they're often a great location for pollinator habitat. And so by pairing pollinator habitat with large solar arrays, you're not only producing green energy, but you're producing habitat for bees, butterflies, and other pollinators that are otherwise struggling in the current state of our environment. You can additionally utilize solar panels with agriculture, like you can see in the picture here with the sheep enjoying the shade from solar panels. But also solar panels can be matched with crops that enjoy shade, occasional shade throughout the day to help them grow a little bit better, but also provide a little bit more passive income beneath the solar panels themselves so that you have a full crop either of several head of sheep or of several crops worth of tomatoes, beans, corn, what have you. So a lot of this is a great opportunity for Southwest Virginia. And in fact, the Solar Work Group and a lot of other people in the area have been working at this since about 2016, and there's been a lot of successes throughout the years. So here's just a few things that have been happening in the region here just in the past year. Just a few days, maybe weeks ago, Wise County Schools announced that they are signing a contract to develop 2 megawatts worth of solar energy on their local schools. And so this won't just be one school, it'll be several schools within the county. And overall, they're working with a local solar installer, and they'll be saving an estimated $7.5 million on energy costs alone over the lifetime of the system, which is about 35 years. If you do some of the math, and this is just a little bit of a back of the notebook math for me, so if I'm a little bit off here, please excuse me. That's roughly $200,000 per year for those schools. This could be put into teacher salary. This could be put into improved equipment for the students, or even just improvements for the school itself or the county. In addition, for solar-owned schools, Southwest Virginia residents are also increasingly going solar. In fact, if you look around a few of our towns in Wise and Big Stone Gap, you can see the occasional solar array popping up here and there. And a big part of that is because solar energy is becoming cheaper, but also people in Southwest Virginia are learning to go solar together. So for the past year, through a program that the Solar Work Group has been running called Solarize Southwest Virginia, residents have been looking at going into solar at the same time in order to cut the cost of solar energy on their homes. This can reduce the cost of a system anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000, depending on how many people you have coming together. And through these programs, we've been able to get assessments or get additional information to over 100 houses in Southwest Virginia. And we'll hopefully see several more installations as the year goes on by the end of 2020 and into 2022. But it's worth knowing that you don't have to have a big program to go solar together and to cut these costs. If you and maybe 3 or 4 of your neighbors are interested in all looking into solar, make sure you coordinate with each other to talk with a solar company, decide one that works for you, and decide one that will give you a little bit of a discount because you're bringing them more business, but also they're doing a lot less travel and a lot less work to reach 4 or 5 houses all at once. The third awesome thing that's happened in the area is that the Appalachian Regional Commission, or ARC, recently awarded $1.5 million for a program called the Appalachian Solar Finance Fund. And this finance fund is being put together by Appalachian Voices and the Solar Work Group of Southwest Virginia, really to provide tons of aid to local community colleges, hospitals, and Main Street large and small businesses in their efforts to go solar. So this program and this $1.5 million will essentially help these organizations locally with financing solar arrays, but also all the technical aspects of how you go solar. And so if anybody in the region is interested right now, just around the corner, there's a program that's really waiting to give you the full benefit of solar energy and get you all the technical expertise that you need. And then finally, and I left this one to bleed onto the other page as well, because it's a little bit of a drum roll moment to me, is that the region has been seeing increasing interest in utility scale solar projects. This can be due to a variety of things, including earlier this year, a bill was passed to help incentivize solar energy on mine lands. And one of the important reasons for doing this is that it's not only important that solar energy comes to Southwest Virginia, comes to the coal fields, but it's also important that this solar energy, it's utilized and installed in a way that keeps our local healthy forests intact and has minimal effect on our amount of farmable land. And so in 2020 and 2021, there have been over 190 megawatts of solar energy proposed in Southwest Virginia and Central Appalachia. All these utility scale projects can be found in Buchanan County, Dickens County, Wise County, and probably looking into a few others throughout the region. Ultimately, this 190 megawatts would be enough to power approximately 47,000 homes in the area and would offset about 6 million tons of CO2 and save over 60 billion gallons of water throughout the lifetime of the systems. And so again, these numbers are as accurate as I can get them. It's a little bit of math on my part, so if anything's a little bit off, feel free to let me know, send me an email. But otherwise, this is looking like it's going to be an awesome next few years for solar energy and for environmental conversation in the region. But with that being said, Southwest Virginia is still not the perfect place for solar energy. There's a lot of barriers. And if you remember, one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that one of those barriers are shared solar. And so right now, Southwest Virginia isn't exactly accessible. Southwest Virginia doesn't necessarily have solar energy accessible to everyone in the community. These shared solar programs are still not available in the region, despite it being the best option for low-income households and small businesses that can either not afford their own solar array or are in a poor location for solar energy. And so a poor location for solar energy may mean you're down in a holler where you rarely ever get sun, or it may mean that you have tons of large, healthy, growing forests in your area. And so you don't get much, so you get a lot of shade on your home and on your property. Shared solar is a way to overcome that barrier by essentially allowing anyone in the community, including renters like myself, to purchase cheaper green energy despite not having access to good siding on their roof or on their property. And so to make sense of this, I want to go over just really quickly how community solar works. And you can kind of look at it like 4 basic steps. First, a community solar array is built in your community. This can be on a number of roofs that all share the electricity and send it back to the utility, or it can be on a nearby abandoned mine land or a nearby field or a nearby goat or sheep farm. This solar array is built in the community and is generally between 1.5 and 10 megawatts and it uses the utilities programs to essentially connect to the utility grid. Once this is installed, clean energy begins being produced by that solar project and is delivered directly to the utility. This offsets some of the utility's energy mix, offsetting fossil fuel production in the region and outside of the region. The next step is that once the utility begins getting this energy from the shared solar array, local businesses and individuals and municipalities and schools and really anybody who wants access to solar energy can then subscribe to their own panels or their own percentage of energy from that community or a shared solar array. So by subscribing to this, they receive a monthly bill for their subscription, but that's usually offset from their electricity costs. And so the fourth and final step is that the utility then credits those subscribers on their electricity bills, reducing the total cost that they have to pay the utility. And ideally, in a good program, this would mean that everyone subscribed to the solar array would get about a 10% discount on their energy throughout the year. This equals up to a little bit more than one free month of electricity. And as I mentioned, shared solar is not currently available in the region, but the solar work group is working really hard to make sure that Southwest Virginia has the same access to solar energy that Northern Virginia has. And so here are a variety of ways that you can support shared solar for Southwest Virginia today. All of it is you can find all of this through our website, swva-solar.org/shared-solar.com or .org. And I can put that link in the chat here in just a moment. But in short, so there are a variety of ways that you can actually support shared solar. The first and easiest, taking less than a minute, is to sign on to our letter as an individual, a business, or an organization. This letter is simply asking our legislators and telling our legislators that we want to see shared solar available in Southwest Virginia like it is in other parts of the state. It's asking them to help pass legislation to make Appalachian Power and Old Dominion Power provide shared solar programs to our communities. Once you get that really quick action done, the next step is to try and help other people go solar as well, or try to help other people support solar as well by asking local individuals, maybe your significant others, friends, family, or even businesses and organizations in the area that you know would be interested in helping. You can also share the Solar Work Group's new shared solar video that's available on that webpage above. That shared solar video covers everything you need to know about why this is beneficial for a community and how you can support shared solar. And so sharing that on social media through email would be really useful. Getting as many eyes on that video and on that letter will really just show how much power we have in Southwest Virginia and how much the region wants to see a transition to solar energy. And then finally, the most dedicated people and the individuals who really want to see the most change have the opportunity to write your local newspapers. By just simply writing your papers and saying that shared solar is needed in your community, you can show everybody in your community, you can show your local legislators, and you can show the papers themselves that we support shared solar in Southwest Virginia and that we need to have access to this to make solar energy available to everyone. And so some of this is really easy. Some of this is a little bit more difficult and a little bit more involved. So if you're really interested in helping out however you can, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Again, my name is Austin Counts, and my email is austin@voices.org. And then, oops, apologies. And let's see if I can turn my, seem to have a little bit of an issue here. Okay, great. And so that's the end of my presentation today. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about solar energy, and hopefully you're looking forward to a new reason to be excited to see a sunny weekend. If you haven't heard of any of this news until today, there's a way to fix that. The Solar Work Group of Southwest Virginia has a Facebook page where we post all the local solar energy news and events. And you can find that very simply by just searching Solar Work Group of Southwest Virginia on Facebook, or you can go to the link here. And also, if you need any more information on any of this, if you're interested in going solar, or if you're just interested in supporting solar energy in any way possible, feel free to reach out to me again. That's austin@voices.org, or my phone number to the office is 276-207-8255. 8588. And so thank you all very much for joining. We seem to have a few minutes for questions, so I'll be happy to take any questions that you all can put in the chat. And until then, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the moment, and I'm going to try and get the links into the chat so that everybody can support shared solar however they'd like.
Yes, thank you so much, Austin, for that amazing presentation. It was very informative. If anyone has any questions, you can actually click on the Q&A box to type up your question, or you can request to speak and ask your question directly for Austin. So we'll allow a few minutes for questions now, if anyone would like to ask any. If no one has any questions, that's all right. We can go ahead and conclude the presentation. Thank you so much again, Austin, for speaking on solar energy in Southwest Virginia.
Thank you all very much for joining, and I apologize that I wasn't able to get my video started today. I don't know what happened.
No worries. Actually, it looks like we have a question from Idalina Walker. What are the next steps for solar in Russell County?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Ada. So there are a couple of next steps for Russell County. Fortunately, Russell County was one of the communities that got their Soul Smart designation a few years back. And so Russell County is really well on their way of inviting solar energy to the region. We've heard a little bit of news over the past couple of weeks, nothing formal yet, but there seems to be a utility scale system that's looking into some land in Russell County as well. And so there may be some news coming out on that here recently, but also hopefully in the next year or two, the Solar Work Group of Southwest Virginia will have a Solarize program that will include Russell County and several other counties from Southwest Virginia that wasn't able to make it into the program this year for various reasons. But so you can be looking forward to all that. And of course, if you want to keep up with any news from what would be happening in Russell County or any of the other counties, feel free to follow us on Facebook or send me an email anytime if you'd like to get something else started in your community. We're always looking to figure out how we can help create jobs, help create businesses, and help bring solar energy to other counties, whether that be a school going solar or whether that just be a small home or a local park. Thank you for the question, Ida.
Excellent. Anyone have any other questions? Okay. We're going to go ahead and conclude this presentation with Austin Counts. Thank you so much again, Austin, for speaking on solar energy for Southwest Virginia. The waiting room for the next presentation will remain open. For now, though, you're welcome to leave and come back at 1 p.m. for our presentation by Teresa Brown on critical zone studies in the High Knob area. So everyone, we will see you all then. Thank you so much.